When it comes to building and maintaining trail, having the right tools make all the difference in the world. Hey everyone, Mick here, and welcome to Chapter 1, Episode 2 of The Art of Dirt, where we're going to talk about tools. A lot of the tools I have around me, you may have already seen. They're common household tools that you'll find in the typical garage for just working in the yard. Some of the other tools are more specialty, and unless you're already been to trail work parties or seen wildland firefighters, they might not be as common or typical. So let's just get started, and we'll start off with lots. So these tools in front of me are mostly used for clearing and cutting, and just like the lot, that's what it's for. It's for cutting through branches and small trees, brush, woody brush. Find some with some longer handles. Having shorter handles, you just don't get that mechanical advantage of leverage. So you get the small hand ones. It's going to hurt your hands if you're using them a lot during the day. Next up, a folding pocket saw. This is a Silky Pocket Boy. I like the small, short pocket boys. They are easy to just toss in their case, throw it in your pack, put it in a pocket. Yeah, super useful. You can get them in a longer blade format, but like I said, I like the small ones so I can just toss it real easy. You can cut through with this like up to 8 inches. And if you get creative, cut a much larger diameter branch or tree that's fallen across the trail while you're riding and hiking. This, not as common, but I think everyone would recognize it. This is a machete. And this is a really cheap, cruddy one. Bought it for like $5.99 at Harbor Freight, but I've had this for about 8 years. I just file it, keep it sharp. Works well enough for what I use it for. I use it to cut through brush and like blackberry brambles. So for that purpose, it works fine. I wouldn't suggest really investing in anything better unless you plan on cutting through thicker material and harder material where you want a really good treated steel, hardened steel blade. Moving on, and sorry that I'm rushing through this, just trying to keep this short. Your typical digging shovel, round point digging shovel. I like to buy them with the large steps. This is what I'm talking about with the step. It makes it easier on your feet when you're digging. And you can pick these up for under 20 bucks. I actually got this one on sale for $12.99 at the Ace Hardware. And I've owned a couple of this specific shovel over the years, and it actually works really well. My last couple went on vacation this last year. I just haven't seen them back. So I like to, you'll see this on some of my tools, have my name and marks across them. These just are for measuring, so 12, 18, 24, and 32 inches. Use it for quick measurement of bench width and tread width, measuring the height of something. So works really good for that. You can do that or not. Like I said, I like to use it for measuring. Next up, not as common of a shovel, but this is your square or flat shovel. Also, I think the official name of these is called a transfer shovel. This one, again, has the large steps. Not really as needed for a transfer shovel, but a transfer shovel is actually really useful when it comes to shaping berms and jumps, lips, packing down material in the trail that you're filling in a spot and you need to pack it down, and it's the only tool you have with you, or one of the few tools that you have with you. But you're going to mostly use this if you're transferring gravel or soft dirt from that's been dug out of a borrow pit, transferring it into a wheelbarrow or a bucket. So it carries a lot more volume, so it's a lot quicker for that. But it's a very common tool amongst trail builders. Again, back to that shaping reason. Here is a bow rake. I got too close there. Not to be confused with a leaf rake. Leaf rake has the tines, the springy tines on it. This is made for denser material, so small branches, gravel, bark, Works really good with ripping up the organic mat that happens after needles fall or leaves fall and it gets packed down into the top of the trail. You can use this to get underneath and rake it off. So a really common tool for that. You can also turn it upside down like this and use it to finish trails by pulling the dirt along, and it'll kind of just level things out. And you can go back through and pack it down. So very common for that as well when it comes to trail finishing. Then you have your hoe, but when it comes to building trail, you're not going to use your typical garden hoe. You're going to use this. So this is called a Grub Hoe. And this one's manufactured by Rake, and it's made out of recycled agricultural disc blades, which are hardened steel, and it makes a really good, you'll notice this is really thick compared to, like, if you go to the hardware store and you look at a hoe, it's like really, really thin. This is thick, it's durable, it's heavy, it's got a lot of heft to it. It's made to get underneath vegetative growth and just rip it right up. So really useful tool for that. Also can use it to cut like the back slope and do some trenching if you have to. Now getting into the more uncommon tools, we have a tamper. This is an 8x8 tamper used for tamping the ground. You know, you have a bunch of soft material, you put it down for, like, you're starting to build up a berm. You're going to want to tamp it down every once in a while. If you don't, what happens as it settles, it's going to settle unevenly, and you're going to spend a lot more time trying to shape it later on as it settles. Same thing with jumps. So even dry material can be tamped. You know, if you pile of dirt and just let it settle, it's going to lose about 30% of its volume. If you tamp it down and then it settles, it loses about half that, so about 10-15%. So even tamping dry dirt is a good thing. I like the 8x8 size. That's about the, one of the smaller sizes you can get. Anything bigger just becomes really difficult to carry around. Plus, it's not something that you're going to carry with you to every build. It's something that you leave at a build site that's going to need it a lot. Now going into the multi-headed tools. And I have people that would have my head if I didn't start off with this one, because it is an iconic trail builder tool, also a wildland firefighter tool. This is the McLeod. You'll notice that it is flat, has a cutting edge along here and a rake edge along here. This is used to get underneath vegetative growth, rip it back, scrape it away, and a lot of people will use this to tamp. So as a multi-purpose tool, this works really good. I'd stay away from the McLeods that have the big bolt head right here. It's a big bolt head. It sticks up. You use it to tamp, it just leaves these divots all the time. You'll notice it's really thin. This is actually a pretty light tool. It's made to be light because wildland firefighters have to pack their tools around a lot. So having anywhere where they can save some weight, again, having a fire rake on one end and this cutting edge on the other end is really useful. But as trail builders, there's another company that's kind of upset the McLeod, and this is becoming more in favor. It's by Grub Hoe. You're going to find out that I have a lot of their tools. And that's this. This is the 70HR. It's not as pretty of a sounding name, but it's to the point. 70 represents 7 inches, so 7.0. H for hoe, R for rake. You'll notice it's got that curve to it from the agricultural disc blade. No rivets, no bolt head. Really good for packing stuff down. Because it has kind of a shape, it actually works really good for shaping when you're trying to pack and shape at the same time of berms and lips on jumps. So really good. It's thick, it's heavy, it's burly. It gets underneath vegetative growth and just rips it up really well. So this is becoming the favorite amongst trail builders. I built miles of trail, hand-built trail, with pretty much just that alone. Again, Grub Hoe 70HR. Moving on to the next iconic tool amongst trail builders, and another firefighter tool that's very old. Cool history behind it, but we won't get into that in this episode. This is a pulaski, also known as a cutter mattock. So you have a mattock on this end, and you have a axe on this end. See there? Other variations of this tool is a pittock. So it's going to have a pick on this end with the mattock on this end, and then you have your pick axe, which is going to have the pick on this end, axe on this end. So very common tool, again, used to get, having this really heavy and narrow mattock head on it, if you're in really thick vegetation that has really dense root system, this will cut right through it, where the larger tools have difficulty with it. So that's what this is used for, and if you get into woody roots that you need to cut through, you got your axe. And that belonged to my grandfather. He passed away in the 80s, so that kind of gives you an idea of just how old it is. Rogue hoes take on a pittock, kind of. This is the 55A, pick on this end, hoe on this end. Another tool that I've used a lot. You're not going to use this to go through really dense stone, but soft stone like sandstone. Cut out benches with this just fine. It's a really good tool to have. The narrower head, it's nice to have in your arsenal because of the narrower head, kind of the same reasons why the pulaski is really good, because if you do get into really dense rooted vegetation, this helps cut through it a lot easier. So yeah, the 55A. And the last of the tools I'm going to talk about is the only one you can really get for free. And that's this guy here, 5-gallon bucket, really common. You can get these for free. Just call up your local commercial painter and ask them if it's okay if you show up at one of their job sites and pick up their empties. They usually are pretty happy to, just leave them out there for you, as long as you actually show up. Don't call them up, say you're going to show up and then not, because then they've let them sit out all day. When you get them, they're not going to be clean, obviously. Transport them back safely so they don't fall over. Let them dry out, and you can just like pull the latex out of them. The only thing I would recommend getting for these are these snappy grip handles. They replace this handle. This handle is really small, and you'll fatigue your hands if you're using this a lot during the day. Dirt is heavy. So these just snap together. So I got these at a prospector trade show several years ago, like 15 sets. If you have access to a 3D printer, you can 3D print these, and I'll put a link to the STL file in the description below. These are just held together with M4 by 10 millimeter socket cap bolts. And yeah, I've been trying some of these out. They work well. I printed them at 40% infill because I just wanted I didn't want them to be solid, but I also didn't want them to be flimsy. So at 40% infill, they seem to be working just fine. So yeah, a bucket, good thing to have. You can also pick these up, I heard, at Jimmy John's. That's what they pack their pickles in. So the pickles come in these, actually they're 6-gallon buckets for Jimmy John's. I actually haven't picked any up yet because I ended up scoring a bunch of buckets from a commercial painter. So that's it for this episode. Sorry I rushed through that. It's a lot of tools. I wanted to keep it short. This is the third time that I've had to film this because I suck at filming and this is new to me. And the first time was outside and there was too much wind noise, and the second time I didn't have my audio stuff hooked up right and there was a lot of feedback. So hopefully this comes out good, and you'll join me next time where we will talk about safety, both using these tools and safety we should observe, as well as the equipment we should wear on our next episode. So thank you very much, and until next time.